All right, good morning, everybody, to this lovely Friday. It's Friday, which means you have a whole weekend of fun math ahead of you, as we eventually have to start thinking about our quiz coming up. So we'll leave a few minutes at the end if you have any questions about the quiz. But remember, we have office hours or Q&A sessions as well over the weekend that you can use as you need to. But as always, can I just get confirmation that you can both see and hear me, so I know there aren't any technical difficulties? Ooh, that was loud. That's okay, it's not your fault. Perfect, thank you. So we introduced Roman numbers, and we then said that the thing that is left is to do arithmetic in these number systems that we introduce or discuss. And it helps me to keep in mind why I'm doing this. And we discussed that at the end of yesterday. I don't want to repeat that. But essentially to help me better understand the arithmetic methods that I am quite used to. So we are going to start with, of course, the simplest one, which is addition. And we don't have to do them all today. I just want to get going on this because it's going to take more than one day. And then after the quiz, we'll pick it up and wrap it up as we need to, which will be, I guess, Tuesday. The most important thing here is to remember that the method for written arithmetic is the same one you learned, the same one you'll be teaching. Nothing has changed other than the appearance. And to emphasize that, we are going to stay within the Roman number system when we do this arithmetic. So let's see our examples. Oops, I need the little hand guy. There we go, hand 2. We have exercise 5.6. Now I'm going to just put mine on a different screen because I'm going to mix something up if I jump back and forth. Regardless, exercise 5.6. We have just the first one, A. CLXV plus XVII. Oops, just one. I should do I's. There we go, just 2 I's. Now, again, the temptation may be to convert these numbers to decimal, do the addition, then convert them back. That is the last thing you should do. That teaches me nothing. And I'm here to improve myself so that when I'm sitting in front of little Timmy explaining the method for addition for the very first time, I can really understand and explain every step carefully and answer any why question because I understand the details of this. That means I need to look at it very objectively again from scratch as if I've seen this for the first time. So, scroll there. What is the very first thing our method requires? It requires to line up these numbers one underneath the other so that the places, the decimal places, are in line. Which means that if I write this, I'll help myself. So I'm going to write the C, which is the hundreds for the first number, the LX with a little space so I can help myself see what's underneath what. These are the tens symbols, and then the V is a ones symbol. I'm adding to that. There's no hundred symbol in the second number. There is an X, and there are some ones numbers. That is the first thing we do. And it's there to help me keep track of everything by having nice and clear columns to work in. Very important. It's part of the method. Something that I might take for granted. So now the written method is going right to left. So I start with the ones column. Luckily, it's still decimal underneath, right? So I can still talk about ones, tens, and hundreds, and so on. Start with the ones column. Now, of course, our language, we're not going to change our language. We still say 5 plus 7 is 12. But I'm not putting my 12 here. Sorry, just 2 ones. Why do I keep doing 3 instead of 2? Because this 10, this x doesn't belong in the ones column. It belongs in the tens column. So I'm going to write the 10 in its appropriate column, and then the 2 stay in the ones column. Carry over to the tens column because I have a lot. Then I'm in the tens column, and I see, okay, 10 plus 60, that's 70, plus another 10, that's 80, and I write the representation in Roman numbers for 80. And nothing carries over. I didn't get to 100, so I go to my hundreds column. It's just the original C that was there. So in this case, another little deceptive thing that you might think happens all the time. It seems like in the tens column, it's just a merging of all the letters. It's not always going to be. Do the addition and then write the appropriate representation for that quantity. The V's aren't there in the ones column, for example. But by doing more examples, we'll see what there is to see. Notice how the method isn't different. Line things up, start with the ones column, carry over if my answer in that column is too much, same method as always. The only thing is it looks different, perhaps. It's not underneath the surface different at all. But by having it look a little different, I am forcing myself to really look and think about what I do and when. So that is my second addition question. First step is line them up. So I have a few hundreds here. I have no tens, but I know that I'm going to have a column for each place. So my tens position will be next, but I don't have anything to write there. There are no zeros in the Roman number, so I just need to leave extra space before I get to my ones column. Then I have only ones numbers in the second number, so it seems very sparse, but that's okay. I need to line things up appropriately. Now I go right to left. I see 9 plus 7. I know is 16. That means 10 is carried over to the tens column. 6 is left in the ones column. Then I go to the tens column, which I gave space for, and I see, oh, there's just an X. That's not a lot, so no hundreds carried over. The hundreds are still there. Now, of course, for practicing purposes, you can make a question like this. Let's suppose you've done all the problems. You want more. You feel like you need more practice. What do? You can certainly make up many of these questions. And if you aren't sure about your answer, sure, then we are going to have to convert this guy to decimal, convert this guy, add them up, and then see if it matches my attempt at the Roman version. That's only if I need the practice and I make up my own questions. Other than that, in a test, for example, you are not allowed to write any decimal numbers. You have to show your work in a way that convinces me you've stayed in that number system. And the question in the test, of course, that test is not even this Monday. It's the next one. It's far off. You don't want to think about it. But in a test, the question will elaborate and say, if you show any symbols of a number outside of this number system, marks may be deducted, and in fact will be. If I see a decimal number anywhere in your answer, I just start subtracting, because it doesn't show me that you stayed in the number system. Okay. Now these are pretty small. Let's see if we can look at a bigger one with some more action happening. Let's see. I think that's enough space for C. Let's copy it down. A whole bunch of letters. I'm not really interested in what they are right now. I am just copying everything down because I don't want to see the book. Flip back and forth and make a mistake. Okay, I think I did that right. Okay, now, first issue is to line things up. And I see this one goes into thousands. Okay, so my first number has a couple of thousands. Then I have some hundred symbols. Then I have a special subtractive pair for the tens. And then I have some ones. But of course, I need to know the symbols. I need to have it memorized. I need to understand subtractive pairs. I need to spot them immediately. All those things I am now building on. And I've seen people in the past. I bring up these warnings because I don't want you to do the same things that hamper your progress. So I mention it as I think about it. I see people in the past rushing to arithmetic when they don't know the symbols yet. They haven't done their conversion where we establish that base, where we practice recognizing the symbols and what they mean and so on. Build on that. If you're not ready for arithmetic, don't move on to arithmetic. It'll just make things worse. Next number, I have some thousands again. I have a couple of hundreds. I have a tens number, and I have a couple of ones. Now I've set it up. Right to left, I'm doing a written arithmetic, right to left. So I have a 6 here. I'll put an arrow there. That's the column I'm looking at. I have 6 plus 2 is 8. I write the representation for 8. I'm good to go. I move on to the tens column. I have a 90 plus 50 is 140. And I write the corresponding symbols for the quantities I say. Then I go to the hundreds column. I have 100 plus 400 is 500 plus another 200 is 700. I write the symbols or the representation for 700. Say it first, write the symbols that correspond to what you're saying. I move on to the thousands column. I have 2,000 plus another 7,000. That is 9,000. I write the subtractive pair in this case to represent the quantity I said. And if you look at this V with a line over it, MM, and you don't immediately say 7,000, that means you need to go back. You're not comfortable enough to do this yet. Okay? So just because I'm doing it doesn't mean you should be right now. You should have a sense for where you're at and how quickly and easily you recognize all these letters in subtractive pairs or not or whatever. And only move on to this if you are ready. You end up being much more efficient and learn much better if you progress as you can progress. Any questions or thoughts on addition of Roman numbers? Stunned silence can be good or it can be bad. I don't know. I don't know. I can guess. It all makes sense. Good. Don't pretend it does when it doesn't. That's okay. We have Q&A sessions. Use them. I listened to a lecture by someone else at another institution just randomly last night, and the lecture was so boring. So boring. I was like, I better spice things up. I don't know how, but be more interesting. I don't know how. Maybe the polar bear isn't enough. Maybe we should give him a hat. I'll look into a hat for the polar bear. Make things a little more interesting. But it ultimately kind of does depend on you. A conversation needs two sides. So I'm only half the side here. And if things aren't easy, that's okay. That's why we're doing it. It's not supposed to all be easy. Then you could have just done it on your own. Oops. It's okay if it's hard, but you have to tell me when it's hard. Very much, yeah. Luckily, I mean, the words in the language are very limited, so we don't have that much to memorize. But yes, absolutely, it's their language. Luckily, we can still say the numbers in English. Let's not get crazy here. But yeah, for many of these things, and for math in general, I keep saying that to my calculus class as well. It is a language. And if you understand the grammar and the rules of how that language works, then the mystery is far, far less. I just need to approach it in a way. How would you learn if you took whatever, Spanish or whatever? I don't go in day one, listen to a lecture, and now expect myself to speak Spanish. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's a slow, little steps at a time process. And when you look back, oh, you've come such a long way. We are going to talk about the test at the end, because I want to edit it out of the videos, because someone else might be watching this and be confused. What tests are they talking about? I don't have a test. I'm freaking out. It's not necessarily for everyone that might watch this in the future, right? So we'll have time at the end, but the Q&A sessions are there for that as well. I don't want to talk about tests right now. Always at the end. Always at the end. Then, of course, next up is subtraction. Subtraction. Now, our method, maybe you have to remember subtraction. Let's remember. It's something that you could not be here if you haven't done this. It's impossible. But maybe you don't remember. Or maybe I don't even think about it anymore. I'm so used to it. I literally don't think about it. So let me just remember. In decimal numbers, let's suppose I have an example. And the example is, I don't know, 237 minus 192. Random. I then go, okay, it's written right to left. 7 minus 2 is 5. 3 minus 9, it can't be done. So I have to borrow 1. And oops, what's that line doing there? That line is not right. I might write that. Then say 13. 13 minus 9 is 4. 1 minus 1 is 0, and I'm done. Now that method, especially in the decimal system, is designed to be super efficient and super fast, as fast as I can, given I'm writing stuff down. I want to look at this really carefully. What is each step? What is following what, in what sequence, when, why can I do and say things the way I do, and all kinds of things. Because the little Timmy, this is brand new, and it's hard to, it's not easy for them. I've seen it. It's not easy. It takes quite a while to get on top of this borrowing and all kinds of stuff happening. So we have exercise 5.7, and it's hard for me to appreciate what it must be like for them when I'm so used to it. It's like teaching someone Spanish. Like, why aren't you getting it? Translate the sentence. Why aren't you doing it? Just because I can speak it, that language, doesn't mean it's easy. It's hard to relate sometimes. First one, CLXD minus IX. I'm just copying down what the question says. And now we have to say, okay, how does our method want us to set this up? Set it up for success. Yes, maybe if you are super smart or super experienced, you can just do it right away. I don't feel like that. So I need a setup, a method, strategy. And that strategy is line things up according to the decimal places. So I see 100s here. I'm giving myself some space. I see an L and an X. That's tens digits, not digits, symbols. And the V is a ones symbol. Minus. Ooh, I only have one symbols. Okay, just make it the first easy example. Let's just get a line over there. All right, so now, can I zoom in? I can zoom in, I think. Zoom. Ooh. That's a lot of zooming, but I'm going to go with it. So now I say, okay, we're still speaking in English, right? Just to keep things manageable here. We're not going to suddenly speak Latin or whatever. 5 minus 9. Okay, that can't be done. I can't take 9 away from 5. That means I need to go borrow something from my next column. What is the minimum of that column that I can borrow? That column works in tens. The minimum I can borrow is a 10. Actually, let me make it colorful. I'm trying to not be boring here. Color would help. I'm going to borrow a 10. Now that will go with my ones column, which means this 10 is out of commission. It's not there anymore. I moved it over. It's still, the quantity is still the same. I just move things around as I need to, and I need to. Because now I want to say, okay, in the pink box, I have 15. Take away 9. Yeah, I could do that. That will be 6. And I represent 6 accordingly. Now when I look at the tens column, I just have my L, nothing to take away, so it's pretty boring after that, actually. Just our first example, just having one borrowing concept. Okay. That is a good one to start with. As simple as it can be, but still having that essence behind the subtraction procedure. Okay. I'm going to zoom back out. This is too close. I'm getting uncomfortable. Whew, it's better. All right, and if I move on too fast, you're like, can you go back to that question? I can't see it anymore. I'm freaking out. Remember, there is a video. And remember, we're not in any rush. Feel free to interrupt. Do anything you want. Next one is a long one. Why is it so long? C, 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 X, 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 V, I, minus. C, L, X, X, I, X. And also note, as I did this first one, for example, never, not once, did I say how much that first number is. I never said it was, what is it, 165. That was never something I said. I stayed within the number system, and it's actually completely irrelevant how much those numbers are originally. The method doesn't even care. It systematically takes away what it needs to and be left with the answer. I never said what this bottom number is. I don't care. I'm staying in this number system. Now that's especially true for these longer numbers. I never convert them. Never. I don't need to. That's not part of my method. My method is to set things up according to decimal places. So I have some hundreds there, give myself some nice space to work with. I have some tens there, and I have some one symbols there. And of course, I need to recognize these immediately, or this is going to be very difficult. Build your foundation, then everything's solid on top of that. Okay, so there's my setup. Setup's very important. You'll see, I hope you don't, but you might see little Timmy one day write his numbers, and the columns are all wobbly and stuff. Not nice and lined up. And then, inevitably, things are going to go wrong. And then he's shocked. How did I not get the right answer? Really? Are you really surprised? Set yourself up for success. Line things up perfectly. Give yourself the best chance. Now there's no doubt I am working in this column. There is no doubt what's in the column. There's no doubt what's outside the column. Help yourself. But kids don't do that. They just don't. Just want to rush. Think it'll all work out. No, it might not. So I have the ones column. I see a 6 minus a 9. Is that the same as the other one? No, that was a 5. Okay, fair enough. A little different. Let's go pink. I'm going to borrow because I don't have enough. What can I borrow? You haven't said a lot. You can say something. What do I borrow? I can only borrow essentially the value of that place, that column I'm borrowing from, which is the tens column, which means I can borrow 10. Sure, I can borrow more, but it's completely unnecessary. 10 will always be sufficient. So I'm always going to borrow 1 of that column. Remember that. That's always going to be true, actually. Even when it's less obvious and you don't see an X there, perhaps. Now I have just moved it. Nothing has changed in the value, so I'm good. I now have 16, take away 9. In our language is 7. I then write the corresponding representation for 7. So I do speak in my language because I can't change things too much. Then it will actually be foreign. Now when I move to the tens column, I see, okay, I currently have 20. I need to take away 70. That's not going to go well. I don't have it. I physically don't have it in that column. Let's go blue. So I need to borrow. What do I borrow? Well, I borrow from the hundreds, which means I can borrow 1 of them. And now it's just moved over. So in this blue square that I now have 120, which I can take 70 from to leave 50. And I write down my representation for 50. Then I move on to the hundreds column. I have 200, take away 100, left with 100, and I'm done. Never did I care what those numbers are. I looked at them in small little windows and systematically shifted left, and the answer is then sort of constructed systematically as well. I never zoomed out and said, oh, it's 336 minus 179. No, I don't care. The method is trying to be efficient. And what's efficient is making a small window and shifting that window and repeating the process of borrowing if you need to over and over and over. That's efficient. Small things repeating itself. That I can handle. I don't convert for a test. I don't convert these two numbers originally, then do the subtraction, then convert back. That'll get you a 0 in a test every time. It's not going to work. It's not what the question is about. You've learned nothing. You show no understanding. Nothing good is happening here. I will say again, though, if you need more practice questions and you need to make them yourself, I want to know if my answer is correct. Right? How do I do that? Well, the only way is to, on the side, go and convert and check that my answer is correct, because I made up the question. That's a total different story. Practicing on your own, maybe you want to do the conversion to confirm your answer. Totally fine. In a test, no, that's not what we do, ever. Can we squeeze one more in? I think so. And then we'll leave multiplication for a later day, since I get the feeling maybe some people want to talk about the test. What test? I have no idea. We'll see. Oh, what's my C, X, I, minus L, X, V. Who knows what those numbers are? I don't care. I'm setting it up. Hundreds, space, some tens, and space, and some ones symbol. Then in the second number, I don't see any hundreds. I see an L and an X. Those are tens, not digits, symbols. And then a ones symbol. Okay, now I'm ready. Lined up so beautifully. Look how beautifully the spaces are separating the columns. Ah, so nice. You have to be happy with when you're doing something right. And I'm setting it up right. Now, go to my ones column. I have 1. Take away 5. It's not happening. But it can if I borrow, and there's a 10 to borrow. So get out of there, 10. You're coming with me. Now I have 11. Take away 5. Yeah, that's much more reasonable. To give me a 6, and I write down the representation of 6. Don't look for patterns in letters merging and canceling and stuff. No, just say the calculation, which is super small, single digits mostly, then convert it back and write the representation. That is my suggestion. Take it or leave it. Up to you. People look for patterns and things and shortcuts. This is already a shortcut. This is as efficient as it can be. Don't look for things that aren't there. Now I move on to my tens column. I have nothing. And I need to take away stuff? Nope, not going to happen. I need to borrow. I borrow the 100 that is there. Now it doesn't have anything else, so it's just 100. But that's okay. I have 100. Take away 60. I have 40 left. I represent 40. Whatever that representation may be. There's nothing in the hundreds column. I'm done. You can go up here and write the nice connected list of letters if you want to. That's nice, sure. But I don't read much into that. I don't know what it is. It's the answer. That's what it is. So it's all about the approach. The approach underneath the surface, not anything new. You've done this hundreds of times in your life. We are not reinventing the wheel here. We are simply changing the appearance to help us look at this more critically, objectively, and really know what this method is doing so that we can become more effective in teaching it. That is the goal. So, pros and cons here. We will leave multiplication for next time because I don't want to rush it. Are there any questions on addition and subtraction at this stage? Probably not, since we're all focused on other things, perhaps. All right.
Please remember to click the like button if you enjoyed the video, and to subscribe if you want to be notified of more videos. Thank you.